If you are nosy, this is the one for you. It has been so long since we've done a monthly reset video, and I am very excited for them to start up again. It's genuinely been so long that probably about half of you have subscribed since we did the last monthly reset video, so you've maybe never seen any of them. But this is a video that I really love. It's pretty reflection focused. We talk about goals, we talk about monthly favorites, we talk about the books I read, we talk about income, social work income, what I made in a month, where my spending went in a month. And they're very fluid, just kind of with the different sections that I feel like will be beneficial for that month. I did them monthly starting last September was the first month that I reflected on and posted in the beginning of October, and I did them monthly up until March whenever, you know, life blew up. I quit my job. I left the country for 10 days. I was unemployed for 6 weeks. I started a new job. I left the country again. Life just kind of blew up, and so I never got back into the habit of doing these monthly reset videos until now. Back by popular demand. Like I said, these are super fluid with the different sections, but I figured I would just do today's matching what we did last year, and then I'm sure as I continue to do them, maybe monthly if I can pull it off, at least more often now that I'm doing them again. There may be sections that we add, that we remove. We'll just have to see. So starting with reflection, since we're headed into November, I like to take just a little second to look backwards into October, figure out, you know, what kind of things we need to leave in October, what kind of things we need to take with us into the new month. So I have these reflection questions that I've done every video. What went well this month? Honestly, a lot went well in October. I just got back from our little mountain getaway. Today's my buffer day that I took off. This is my like PTO day, even though I'm back home. We got back from our mountain getaway, which was so incredible. The vlog for that should be posted, I believe, before this one. So beautiful, so incredible, such a good time. I loved that we got to do that. Honestly, the little mountain getaway came from the fact that I requested days off Friday and Monday whenever I thought I would be running a marathon this past weekend, when that was like my original goal, and I requested off the days before deciding that I wasn't gonna run the marathon. So then I was like, well, I already got my PTO approved, like what should we do? And so we decided to go to the mountains, and it was awesome. My sister visited this month. The last time I've had family visit was like back in January. So like I said, life blew up. So that was fun. She was here for work, so I didn't get to see her for the whole like week that she was here, but I got to see her a Sunday morning and then a Friday night, Saturday. Got to go out to dinner, got lots of food, which will show up in that spending section. I feel like in October, Zach and I did lots of weekend activities, which I don't know, there's always feels like good ways to spend the weekends. Nothing like too overloaded. Like I like getting ahead of things on the weekend, cleaning, resting, reading, all of that. But like we went to the Eras Tour movie and then walked on the Beltline and got dinner, and that just took like a few hours on a Saturday, but just was some really fun memories. I do feel like my mental health is better than it was kind of like in September. So like the beginning of October it was getting a little bit better, but then by mid-October I've been feeling good again. I know I made that whole vlog about mental health being down low and starting therapy this month. That's been new this month, and I don't think starting therapy is the reason that my mental health is like better again, that my mood is better again. I think that starting therapy has helped me start to notice like patterns in myself, and so I'm just figuring things out. But for better or worse, I've been feeling better in October than I was before. I feel like I've been really productive at work. That's something that went well. My caseload has definitely been higher, but I think I need to move fast in a day. I think I feel better when I move fast. Now, obviously I don't want to be like so stressed where I can't get anything done and just feels overwhelming, but having things to do and knowing what I need to do, I like so much better than having not enough things to do. So like feeling like I should be productive, but not actually having things to do. I don't really like that as much. So my caseload got higher. I had a couple days coworkers were out, which is kind of like upped my busyness. So I feel like my productivity has just been high. And then lastly, in this month, or maybe it was at the end of September. No, I can't remember. But I've recorded 2 new episodes for the Voices of Social Work podcast, which is fun. So those are still coming out. It's like about every other week. There are 4 out now where I just interview and get to hear and get to share with you stories of social workers from so many different backgrounds doing so many different cool things. So recorded 2 more of those. Either this month, maybe in September. I can't remember now when the first one was. What didn't go so well this month? We already discussed mental health, so I won't drag on it too much longer, but I feel like the beginning of this month, I was still kind of coming off my depressies. And then I put therapy in my didn't go so well, not because I don't like it, but just because it is another thing to do. And I think it would be so fun if therapy, you could just like go and be like, oh my gosh, everything is great. But like honestly, having to talk can be so uncomfortable, and self-reflection can be so uncomfortable, and becoming aware of oneself and one's patterns can be so uncomfortable. So this isn't like a don't go to therapy, but that's just like it hasn't been this like bright light in my month. It's more so been like, oh man, another therapy session tonight. I remember I put this question in my reflections to like give context sometimes to the month and like what went on in the month, but what challenges did I face this month? I feel like, which is great, not too many challenges. The depressies, but we've already talked about that. I don't think I've been working out as much, but that mostly has just been because starting next weekend, I'm starting training for a half marathon again, so it's kind of been my like get to chill around time before doing that era. What am I grateful for? PTO. This was my first time taking PTO, like for this weekend, because at my last job I did not get paid time off. Whenever I went to Costa Rica for 2 weeks, like at the beginning of this job, it wasn't paid time off, it was just like time off because I already had that vacation scheduled whenever I got the job offer. So this is my first time being like, yep, I will not be here these days, and then I still get paid for those days, and it feels magical. I'm very grateful for Zach. That's my boyfriend. Always grateful for him. I'm grateful for October as a whole. I just feel like October is such a good month. So many people like October, and it really deserves it. With the weather cooling down, fall colors, or the October activities, it deserves it. What habits did I focus on this month? I did focus on workouts just because I think I've had to be more mindfully intentional about workouts since some months in this year I had my strict running schedule, training for the half marathon, and then I had in September a little like, oh no, I don't know what to do with myself anymore. And I feel like October I just had a nice balance of like running once, maybe twice a week, lifting weights, and like doing weight workouts that felt fun to me and felt engaging and everything, while also having grace with myself, which can just make workouts so much more pleasant. I read quite a bit this month. We'll talk about all of the books that I read. I actually stacked my camera on one of the books that I read, so I might have to undo that a little bit. And I feel like I really focused on morning routines this month too, and that is a good habit that came out of the depressing zone, was just like, what can I do in the morning that fills me up, makes me feel good, and not necessarily like, oh, skincare, coffee, like not necessarily those things, because I think that those things are just such a given in my mornings that I can have a great morning with all of those aspects or a really bad morning with all of those aspects. So I really was more so focusing on like what brings enjoyment to start off my day. And so I started waking up early and just like sitting right there on the couch and reading for like an hour each morning. And it was awesome. I don't know how sustainable that is like to do every day, but I feel like if it can be sustainable, I would like to try to make it be sustainable because that's an awesome morning routine. I loved it. Am I satisfied with how the month went? Yes. I feel like I always am. Like even if it's been great months or been not so great months, I feel like each month has a reason, has a purpose. And even if I don't know what that reason or purpose is, like sometimes it's easy to identify and be like, oh, this was my month for this thing, or like I learned this in this month. But also sometimes you can't necessarily identify that reason, but I still like feel like, okay, I probably grew as a person. I gained some more memories. So yes, satisfied. Moving into monthly favorites. This is such a fun section because it does give like 2012, 2013 YouTube, whenever people would make actual like monthly favorites videos every single month of just their favorites, usually like makeup or beauty products, that kind of thing back in that day. But I just like doing this section for things that either I liked in the month, maybe things I got that were new and exciting, recommendations I have. I'm gonna show you all of the new leggings that I have, and I want you to feel as much joy. Oh, wait, let me put them in order. I want you to feel as much joy as I feel with this color wheel scheme. It's just not the most perfect thing, the most perfect collection of leggings. I got all of these this month, but look at the colors. I have been living, laughing, and loving for these, and I feel like they're a family together. Like I like each one individually, but together they're a family. I just went and grabbed the tag because I knew I wouldn't remember what these pants were called if I didn't. The green ones are from Lululemon. They might be my favorite out of all of them. They are the Swift Speed high-rise tight, and I get the 25 inches ones because that fits my leg. These are my favorite. I don't even know what the fabric is from Lulu. It's their Luxtreme fabric. Luxtreme fabric is my favorite from Lululemon. It's the thick, kind of like slippery fabric that Lulu has. My older leggings that I have from them, like just the various different black pairs, most of them that have held up a lot have been this fabric. So we get the fun color. We get the side pockets, which I love the leggings with the side pockets. We get a zippered back pocket back here. I feel like they fit me really well, and also I got them on the We Made Too Much section, so they were on sale. Moving on to my blue ones that are actually inside out. These are the blue pants that you would have seen in that weekend getaway that I went hiking in because I've really been loving them as well. So these are from Flip Belt. You'll see on my Instagram coming up because these ones were the ones that I was actually like doing the collab with to get gifted. These were also gifted, but the collab specifically is for their thermal leggings. These ones are not thermal, they're just regular. They're just like women's mid-rise legging. Code a.bea gets you 20% off. Flip Belt has a lot of running gear, and it has a literal belt that you can wear that has like different pockets that you can carry so many different things when you were running. I got the belt to try it in summer, and I didn't love the belt itself because it wouldn't stay on a good position on me. Like I couldn't get the size right because it had to be big enough to fit either over my shoulders or over my hips, but then it would always slide like too far up because I think my smallest section here is just like my rib cage right here, or like right below my rib cage, which is not where the belt was supposed to sit, but it would always slide there. So I just didn't love the flip belt itself for my body whenever I tried it. But why I like these ones is that it has the same storage as the flip belt. There's a huge pocket going all the way across the whole leggings. Can you see that? Can't get my hand in there. There we go. Huge pocket going all the way across the whole like waistband of the leggings. There's also a zippered one back here, and then there's also 2 pockets on the side. So you get the same benefits as the flip belt, but since they're pants, it doesn't move up and down and all around on me. It just stays in the right spot. And they're this beautiful color, so that's why I've been loving them. And then these purple ones apparently are also inside out. I also got on the We Made Too Much from Lululemon. It was in the same order as those green ones. They're their Sense Knit running type. So honestly, they, whenever they're not on We Made Too Much, are very, very expensive because I guess they have like good technology in the fabric. I don't know, but it has, you see that? It has these little like diagonals on it and stuff. I mostly like them for the color, if I'm gonna be so honest. They don't have the side pockets. They do have one pocket in the back right here, but they don't have the side pocket, and they only have the 28s. They didn't have the 25s, so they are a little long on me too. So I would not pay full price for these, but this is the purple that I absolutely love, and I got them on the We Made Too Much, so that's how they're a favorite too. Next, I got Hydro Jug's Traveler Cup. I've never gotten any of the cups that are like Stanley or Stanley-esque, but Hydro Jug has the same water bottle that I've been using for over a year, like a year and a half at least, and I love it, and I didn't know I would feel brand loyalty to them until they released this travel mug, and I was like, yep, that's mine. So I mean, I'm sure it has all the same perks as other cups like this. You know, it fits in a cup holder, it's drip proof, has a straw, has the handle, makes you drink water more without me having to carry around my 73-ounce Hydro Jug. And then lastly, this skincare I've actually had since this summer. It was gifted to me through PR. I'd never heard of the brand before, and I only started using it actually because my typical face wash and stuff that I used was running out, and I was like, well, since I have this, I might as well try it before buying new, and then I actually ended up really liking it. So it's Vichy Laboratories, specifically this like green collection, which is their Normaderm Phytoaction. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the good ingredients are in here, but I do know that both of these have salicylic acid in it, which I think has been really good for my skin because my skin has been doing so much better this past month than any of the months beyond, which I did also get a facial this month, so that could also play into it. It's kind of hard because I started doing those 2 things around the same time, so it's hard to be like, oh, this specifically caused a difference or this specifically caused a difference, but I've actually run out of this moisturizer. I don't know if you can tell, it's empty in there, and I think I'm gonna be rebuying it, which I guess is every company's dream whenever they send PR is that then it'll get rebought, but I have really liked these. And they also have a BHA solution, like an exfoliating solution, and they also have an acne spot treatment, but I just haven't tried those yet. I have them, I just haven't tried them yet. I started using the moisturizer first, and that's why this one is out now, but I plan to keep using it because if whatever's going on here is working, then I don't want to change it. Okay, moving into books that I read this month, a little monthly reading wrap up. This month I read 10 books, which was 3,520 pages. It is October 30th, so technically I have today and tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to finish a book in that time, so we're saying this is the final monthly stats. This month my most common mood was mysterious, and then tense, emotional, and dark are all kind of in there too. The pace of the books I was reading was mostly medium and then fast and just one slow. The vast majority of my books were between 300 and 499 pages, kind of that like mid-zone in book length, though one of them was under. Every book I read this month was fiction, and for the genres, I read mostly thrillers and mystery, and then contemporary, 2 young adults, and then one of a couple other things. It definitely was a thriller mystery month. I feel like October, like that's the time, you know, to read thrillers and mysteries, so I did read a lot of them. And format-wise, 7 of the books that I read print, 1 book I read digitally, and 2 books I finished on audio. This is kind of the page breakdown through the month of how much I read on different days, and I figure we will go from my lowest rated to my highest rated books. I guess starting with one that I just did not rate. The one that I did not rate was a little novella. It was the one that I read digitally. It was called A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park, and it was a little novella following one of the Lost Boys of Sudan. It was interesting. It wasn't bad. I feel like it's always hard because like I'll read books like this and they'll be intriguing, but then also part of me is kind of like, what are the qualifications of this author? Like, I feel like it's hard sometimes to know like how accurate fiction portrayals like this are, because this one, it did talk about like some hard things that the Lost Boy went through, but then it also had like a very happy tone and happy ending, kind of like, oh, but he endured so much. And that's why I was like, I just don't know what to rate this. Like, I didn't have any strong feelings about it, not enough to give it a low rating or a high rating or even a medium rating. I was like, I don't think it deserves like a 3-star either. Like, so I don't necessarily recommend it. It really was just like one that was available from the library on Libby to read, and I was like, okay, well, I'll read it, and it was like maybe 100 pages or something like that. But going to the next lowest rated is Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. I gave this a 1.75, which on my little rating scale means like between not bad and okay. So it's not like, oh, that's an awful book, but just like, not bad, like, meh. feel like that's what the 1.75 is. Nyeh. Alice Feeney is an author that I kept giving another chance to, but that just like I've never just like fallen in love with one of her books. It's a British thriller. I think she deals a lot with like messy family relationships, and the reveals through the novel are like, oh, well, this person is actually related to this person in this way, or it's like hidden identities or stuff like that. I don't even remember the plot, to be honest. Followed a girl who's like a caregiver at an old person's home. It followed one of the elderly people that lives at that home. We followed a mom, another mom, and it's like as the story progresses, these different points of views that you're getting from the different chapters, you start to learn how they know each other and how they're related to each other, and how maybe they don't know that they're interacting with each other, if that makes sense. So, yeah, not bad. You don't have to run and get it. At 2.5 stars, which in my rating scale means average, What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. This was one of the audiobooks that I listened to. When these three girls were kids, their eyewitness testimony put a serial killer behind bars. The man they put behind bars just died in prison, and we're following one of the main characters who is dark and twisty in the head, which like makes sense. She's gone through a lot of trauma. She's dark and twisty in the head, and we learn early on that there is some sort of lie that these three girls are keeping. And so we spend the book with the main character, and things are coming up now that this man has died. Things from the past are coming up. Seems like someone's trying to uncover secrets. Someone's trying to prevent secrets from being uncovered. She starts questioning her own memories. She starts questioning her friends. She's always questioned her family. So it's messy, it's dark, it's twisty, kind of depressing, to be honest. And like my rating says, it was average. Like, it wasn't a bad book. I finished it. I didn't think about like putting it down or anything, but I wasn't hooked. I wasn't just like dying to know what happens next. Whenever the twist at the end came around, I was kind of like, okay. All right. Rating at 3 stars, which in my little rating scale means above average, is Warrior Girl Unearthed, which is the second book in Firekeeper's Daughters by Angeline Boulley. I feel bad having given this book a 3 stars because I feel like it could have been so much better. However, I listened to it too, and I really struggled to pay attention to it, and I think part of that was my fault and part of that was the book's fault. I wish that I didn't have to try so hard to stay paying attention to it, if that makes sense. So Angeline Boulley writes books that take place in the Ojibwe tribe in at least northern Michigan, maybe the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm not exactly sure where the location is. And so Firekeeper's Daughter that I read last year, great book, really loved that book. Warrior Girl Unearthed follows that main character's niece, so they're not really interrelated stories, but reading Firekeeper's Daughter first would give like context to the community and some of the family members and all of that. But it follows, can't think of her name, it follows the main character as she has, I believe, graduated high school or is going into senior year of high school. She gets an internship and she starts working in a museum, and she starts to learn about the process of what happens with not only the belongings of Native Americans from her tribe specifically, because that's where she's working, not only their belongings but also their remains and their bones. And she finds out that it is really hard for the tribe to get back things that belong to them, and there's like different laws along the way and everything. So she's like finding all of this out and becomes very passionate about the cause. And so then the kind of rest of the book is her being passionate about the cause, and it starts getting much more messy than she kind of ever would have thought it would. Like people who have devoted their lives to keeping Ojibwe possessions who are not Ojibwe, or maybe have committed some sort of like fraud or lying in order to keep possessions, like for their own personal store or their own museums or things like that. Like it runs a lot deeper than surface level, and so she starts getting kind of entrenched and intertwined with the like deeper levels of the adults that are working around her. It is such a good book to exist, and I do recommend it. Like, don't let my 3-star deter you. I think it is such a good book to exist, and I think it is a good one to read too. I struggled so hard to stay invested in it, which I hate that that's the case, but I did. But still read it. That's my review. At a 3.5 stars, which just means good, like that was a good book. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I was unsure going into this because I've had hits with Lisa Jewell and I've had misses with Lisa Jewell, and this one I was so intrigued by. These two women, Josie and Alex, run into each other when they're both out to dinner for their 45th birthdays and find out that they're birthday twins. They're born on the same day in the same hospital. Alex, for this birthday party, has her husband, her friends, big balloons, her children, is dressed all beautiful, and Josie is kind of just like, we get the idea that she's just kind of like grumpy and she's just like out with her husband, and they maybe don't even like really enjoy each other's company. So Josie kind of like becomes attached to Alex a little bit because she's like, look, this woman's really got it going on. And she and Alex end up reconnecting after barely interacting at that dinner. They reconnect, and Alex is a podcaster, and Josie approaches her and is like, I think that you should do a podcast about me. I think it would be cool to document me like as I'm going through a change in my life. She's like, I have, been settled for so long and I need to become someone new, and and I don't know, basically that's the proposal. It's following Josie and Alex's podcast as Josie is like embarking on this midlife change that she's going through. So we started doing this podcast, and that's kind of where the storyline is taking place, but you also get these little snippets that are from like a Netflix original series, and you can tell that it's one of those documentaries where it's like something is going to go wrong. It even teases in the beginning, like, little did Alex know in a few months time, like, she would be sitting in the same place with her family in ruins, like whatever it is. I forget exactly what it says. And so there's this like sense of suspension as you're going through the book where, I mean, with the title, it's like, oh, none of this is true. Like, you have to figure out what is true, what's not true. You follow messy people. It was very intriguing to me. It wasn't like keep me on the edge of my seat, but I was so interested in like where the book was going and how it was going there. At 4.25 stars, which is between like good and great in my rating scale, was The Silent Wife, which is the 10th book in the Will Trent series by Karen Slaughter. I've talked about these series like at length before, so I won't go too deep into it. I do think you get the most out of the Will Trent series if you read the books in order. They're kind of like Criminal Minds episodes where it's the same characters but different cases each book, but I feel like you get the most context for the characters if you read them in order, but that comes with the little asterisk star of like the first 5 or 6 of them are just bad. Like, they're just not good. And so, I mean, the 10th book I really loved it, flew through it, enjoyed it so much, but it is the 10th book in a series, you know. Also 4.25, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and I did not type who the author of that book is, so whoever Remarkably Bright Creatures is by. I also gave this 4.25 stars. It was just very enjoyable. I don't know how to describe the plot all that well, but you follow a woman who is getting older and has lived in this small town for so long, and she spends her nights working at the aquarium in this tiny town, cleaning, and she kind of gets this bond with the octopus at the aquarium, who is so incredibly smart. There is a touch of like magical realism that happens as well. There are little tidbits and chapters that are from the octopus's point of view, which are really interesting. But so it's following this woman, and then it's also following this guy who basically is a newcomer to town. He just recently went through a breakup. He's kind of a mess. He can't keep a job. He ends up landing in this town, and circumstances arise where he needs to start cleaning at the aquarium to kind of take over while this other woman is on leave, but then she like can't really let go of the cleaning, and so they both start hanging out. It is a found family book. It is a kind of like Beauty in the Small Town book. I just really enjoy reading it, and it's one that I feel like it's made a name for itself. Like, I don't know, I've heard about this book for so much longer before I had read it, and I do get why people like it because I liked it too. Okay, I just finished this book, and it's actually the one you're sitting on, so it's the only one I have in person with me, but you are on it, so I can't show you it. 4.5 stars, which in my rating scale means great, was Part of Your World by a.bea.s. Jimenez. Honestly, I picked this up. I own it. I got it from Book Outlet. My hold on Yours Truly by a.bea.s. Jimenez is in transit at the library, so I was about to get it, and that's number 2. So I was like, oh, I need to read number 1 first. So that's why I picked up Part of Your World to read this past weekend. It was so sweet. It was so cute. It is a romance. It is a well-established doctor city girl who is this super long legacy of rich, influential doctors in Minnesota who runs into this charming man who runs a bed and breakfast in this tiny little town 2 hours away from where our doctor lives. We see the romance bud. We see them go through conflict. We see them have to see if they can fit their lives together or not. It filled up my heart. It made me laugh out loud at times. Like, it was so funny. It was so sweet. And even though I knew like exactly how it was going to end, the journey to get there took me. I loved it. It was so good. And so then Yours Truly, the like second book in this little, it's not a series, just like cousin novels. I don't know what that's called. The second book is gonna follow one of like the main character in this one's friends and their little love story. So I look forward to picking that one up too. 4.75 stars, and I feel like I read this forever. I can't believe it was October, which is like great and outstanding, like between those two. The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand. I've been loving Ellen Hildebrand's book. She's like retiring now because she's been coming out with a book, at least one book a year, that are like the Nantucket summer books that you kind of know what you're going in, like, you know, a middle-aged woman on Nantucket doing something or other. She's been coming out with one or more of those books a year for many years, and she's retiring. She's not going to do it anymore, so this is the last one. I listened to her podcast. She said she's still going to publish books, but they're just going to be very different. Like, she kind of had to retire from like Ellen Hildebrand as she's known now, because the next books that she's writing she's joint authoring with her daughter, and they're like boarding school mysterious books. So different than the Ellen Hildebrand that we know and love, but we do know and love this Ellen Hildebrand, and the 5-Star Weekend was very good. It follows a woman whose husband passes away, and as part of her grieving process a few months later, she sees this idea and decides to do it herself, where she invites a friend from basically each decade of her life. That's where the 5 stars come from. So it's like a childhood friend, a college friend, a mom friend, like the different friends from different areas of her life, and bring them all together to her house on Nantucket for a weekend. And there's so much more that goes into the book than that. That's just the premise of it. It is cute. The characters are just so, I don't know, colorful. Like you feel like you get to know the characters. It's fun to see people interact with each other. I just think Ellen is a really great writer. She has a way of being deep without being too deep, if that makes any sense. Like it's not surface level, it's not just shallow, but you're not like being dragged through the mud in these relationships. She keeps it light, kind of quirky. I feel like I'm biased because with the 5-star weekend, like I kind of knew it was going to be rated really high before I even read it, but it did not disappoint. So that's points going for it. And then finally, lastly, this one I won't talk too much about again. It's a 4.75 star, The Great Outstanding, and that was After That Night by Karen Slaughter, which is the 11th book in the Will Trent series. So again, it's the 11th book in a series, but it was so good. It was so good. It recently came out, and so now I'm like caught up on the Will Trent series. It took me, I think, just under a year to read all of those books, but the later ones, good. The beginning ones, not good, but the 11th one, 4.75 stars. Okie dokie. Moving into a section that the people have been missing. If you are nosy, this is the one for you. We're gonna talk about money. This is my first time doing this type of section since I got my new job, so finances are a wee bit different than they were before, but in the section I just like to go over like the income from the month and then also what I did with that income, where I spent it. I don't have a super strict budget. I think more so than giving myself a certain amount that I can spend in each like zone, each category of life. I more so benefit from tracking so that I know where my money's going, and then if there's something that I'm like, oh, maybe I should be more mindful about that, then I try to be more mindful about it. More so than like you only have $200 for groceries this month or something like that. And I think that comes from the fact that I am a pretty smart spender. Like I just always have been. I kind of more have to work towards spending money than away from it. Not to say that I've never done like spontaneous purchases. I definitely have. But I feel like that's why this works for me. And I got to make, for the first time in a long time, one of my little pie charts. So you get to see a pie chart, starting with money that came in this month. So I used to get paid, if you remember from when we did those monthly videos, I used to get paid twice a month, on the 15th and on the last day of the month. So it was very regulated in that I would only get 2 paychecks a month, and the time that those paychecks encompassed could be different. Like it could be from the 16th to the 28th, or it could be from the 16th to the 31st or the 30th. So it just always was so different. Now, like a more normal job, I get paid every other week, which means that most months have 2 paychecks, some months have 3 paychecks. My kind of budget that I go off of is based on having 2 paychecks a month. My mental budget, we just talked about that, but having 2 paychecks a month, and then if I get a third, we get nice and surprised. I think December maybe is the next time it comes up that it is a 3 paycheck month. So that being said, I had 2 paychecks in October. One was $16.96, one was $16.88. So that is pretty common for me. My job is full-time, but it is not salaried, it is hourly. So if I do work any hours overtime, even if that's just a quarter of an hour overtime, half an hour overtime, something like that, I do get paid for that time, which is very nice. So that's why there's some variation in those paychecks, because I know most people, if you have your salary job, it's the same each month, and mine is a little bit different, but they're usually right around there in the $16.80 region. And then other sources of income this month, this has not changed from whenever I talked about it in last year's resets. Any income that I get from YouTube at all, any social media related income I get at all, goes straight to savings and I don't touch it. I don't know if that'll ever change for me. I think that's kind of a benefit of having a full-time job, and then also this having been monetized on the side is that I don't have to tap into YouTube related income for covering bills or anything like that. And so it has more so gone to like fund my emergency fund. I don't know what those savings will eventually go to, but I do feel so grateful that I get to have them. But any YouTube, social media related income at all that I get just goes straight to savings. I don't spend out of it. So this month from sponsorships and work that I did, I got $550. And then from YouTube AdSense itself, I got $250.88. That is so much more than it was last year when I was doing these videos. For YouTube to send you a check each month, your check has to be $100 or greater. So at some times in my YouTube monetized life, that would take 2 months for me to reach that $100 mark to when I would actually then get paid. And so this time last year, I was making just around $100 a month. Like it was kind of, there was a chance that I would get a check each month, and there was a chance that I wouldn't, because I was right around that borderline there. And so the fact that like from, this would have been September, so then I got paid for this month. The fact that in September I got $250 from AdSense is, I still can't believe it. Like that's wild how much it's grown. And then the other thing that I added in here was that one of my credit cards gave me a $100 courtesy adjustment, which like they credited me $100. So I put that in income because I didn't want it to like throw off my tracking, you know? I don't know exactly why they did that. I think it is because I did a referral like this time last year and never got the credit from that. So I think they must have caught on to that and finally gave it to me, is what my guess is. But I did get $100 from them, which then brings the monthly total to $4,285.97 for income. And now I'm curious, I'm gonna go see if I wrote it down in my previous ones. I'm curious how that compares to this time last year. I'm gonna have to do math real quick. That is about $500 more than when I did my November monthly reset from last year. So from the month of October 2022, I made about $500 more this month than I did that month. But we can go into spending, which I also made a nice, lovely pie chart for. The biggest category by far is the housing category, which is where I put my rent, power, and Wi-Fi. So going into my rent section is also like water and trash fees and sewer fees and amenity fees, like everything. It's basically just like what I owe my apartment company. So our actual rent each month is $17.36, but then what changes is the water and all that type of stuff. So it's not always exactly the same each month, but it's relatively close, but then it's split between Zach and I. So this past month I paid $912.29 for that. Power was $51.90. That is finally going back down after summer, and I'm hoping it goes down even more this month. We're trying to basically just not use air conditioning at all because the temperatures, it's working out that way. So hopefully that's even less. I mean, 51 is pretty reasonable. Well, that's half. So like it was 102. So it's pretty reasonable, but I would love for it to go down even more. And then Wi-Fi, my half of it was $17.50. My little subscription section, I didn't really know where else to put this. I paid $10.99 for Spotify. Paid that monthly for forever. Well, I used to pay it with the student rate, which was $4.99, but they kicked me off of the student rate. They said, you graduated twice, you're done. That's what they said. For groceries, I've already kind of mentioned it, but remember I live with my boyfriend, my partner. We don't do everything down to the cent half and half because that would be a lot of like Venmoing and everything, and it just doesn't feel that necessary. So like with rent and things like that, we usually just do it 50-50 because that's what's easiest. But then like with groceries, it'll usually just be like, okay, I'll pick it up this week, you pick it up next week, I'll pick up this part, you know, it just, so sometimes what I pay in groceries may fluctuate even if like what we're paying in groceries doesn't necessarily fluctuate. It's just kind of hard to track that way. But all I can say is I know that for groceries this month, I paid $406.11. And that was 3 different Aldi trips, 1 Publix trip, and 1 Kroger trip. Because when you go to Aldi, you usually have to do a secondary store too. Eating out actually surprised me with how much money I spent this month on eating out. And it does make sense because I did eat out a lot more this month than I have previously. For example, Zach and I went away this past weekend. So we had quite a few meals out, just like Friday and Saturday, not Sunday, just Friday and Saturday. My sister visited. We went on like 3 different restaurants whenever she was here. So there was just a lot of eating out. I spent $346.86 on eating out. And to be fair, not all of that like was mine. Like quite a few of these I was paying for like me and Zach or me and my sister or something like that, but which I'm so happy to do. It was just weird like adding this all up and being like, oh, whoa, that was actually a lot more money that I don't usually spend on eating out, but this month I definitely did. In the house stuff category, $56 is what goes to my couch each month. We paid half of it in full, half of it was financed for 24 months. So 56 is like my half of the monthly payment to pay for our couch. And then also I used the concierge service at my work to get our comforter dry cleaned, and that cost $28. And I didn't know where else to put that, so that went in house stuff. In the love for me category, which is just kind of like a catch-all of just like things I wanted, I spent a lot of money. Spent $582.19, and that was the culmination of $150 facial, which I thought was cheaper whenever, well, I thought she undercharged me whenever I went because it cost less whenever I went than I thought it was going to, and it was because I forgot that I paid a deposit. So I did tip her really big too, partly because I thought she was undercharging me. I don't regret tipping her big, but then I remembered that I actually paid the deposit, and that's why the amount I owed whenever I went was cheaper. So like she wasn't undercharging me. She was charging me what she said she was gonna charge me, but I tipped really big. So that ended up being a little expensive. I spent $140 at lululemon.com. It was because I got both of these pants that we already talked about, purple and green, and I also got a black long sleeve shirt. So everything was on sale section. Each individual item did not cost all that much, but it was a treat yourself. It was a love for me moment. My laser hair removal, I pay monthly payments for until the end of time. Not really. I think I have less than a year left. I think I have maybe exactly a year left, but that was $165.59. You may recognize that amount from last year's monthly resets whenever I was paying those same monthly payments for my laser hair removal. Spent $97.91 at a store that we went to whenever we were just in Hiawassee, and so Zach got a flannel, I got a puzzle, and we got a candle, and I just figured that whole charge was just easiest to put into the love for me category, so that was that. And then I financed my AirPods. I didn't need to, like, they didn't cost all that much whenever I got them in June, but my monthly payment on my AirPods is $28.16. By finance, like, it's 0% APR, so I was just like, well, might as well do monthly payments then, but now it just means that I'm paying monthly. In my love for others category, which is embarrassingly low whenever we just went over all of the expenses that I paid for myself this month, but I sponsored 2 kids through Compassion International, and I have for 3.5 years, so that's just $76 a month. That automatically comes out. For my car, which really is just gas for this month, I didn't need anything else this month, $54.80 for gas. I walk to and from work. Truly the only gas that I needed was driving 2.5 hours to Hiawassee, driving in the mountains when we were there, driving back. That's like the only gas. Driving to and from Run Club whenever I go to Run Club. Health and wellness category, $166.58. This was things like getting protein powder. I put this guy in my health and wellness. I have alluded to this, I haven't like fully mentioned it. I registered for a half marathon, so that went to my health and wellness expense. And then I also am gonna try out a Whoop, which I had not heard of before. Apparently other people have heard of it. It was a bigger thing whenever I've been like asking other people about it now. They're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I had never heard of it before until one of my friends at Run Club was telling me about hers. And I've been like looking into getting a new type of fitness tracker, especially for whenever I'm starting my half marathon training again, just because I think it'll be so fun to track it in a different type of way, like in a way that actually like monitors my heart rate and that kind of thing. I was looking at getting an Aura ring because my sister has one, and I was like, that looks like that could be really fun. They're so expensive, and I don't know if I would like wearing a ring all the time. So it was like, I was thinking about it, I hadn't gotten it yet, and it didn't feel perfect, but it kind of felt like what I needed. And then my friend was telling me about her Whoop, and I was like seeing all the different stats it gave you and everything, and I decided to try it out. So it only cost $9 for now because you get a 30-day free trial, and so I just had to pay for shipping, and then after that it's like a subscription, so you don't have to pay upfront for the device itself, but it's like a subscription to their services. We'll see how it goes. But health and wellness, $166.58, and then I paid $8 for parking. I just felt like that had to go somewhere this month. And then I spent $12.55 at the vending machine at work, which I need to not do because I might as well just bring snacks if I'm gonna have to get snacks at work. But I keep getting Snickers at lunch. That's what keeps happening, is I keep getting Snickers and I need to chill out. So doing the math from this long section, total income, remember, was $42.85. My total spending was $27.29. What does that leave us? That leaves us about $1,500 extra, of which, remember, all of my YouTube income goes straight to savings. So that was $800 that went to savings this month. And then I also did a $1,000 deposit into my stock account, my investments, mostly just because it had been a while since I had. So it ends up being like I was actually negative from this month if you count like what I put into savings and what I put into my stock. I ended up with less in the checking account than what I started with, but they went to good things. I definitely don't do that like every month, like that amount or anything, but that's how the cookie crumbled for the money this month. Going into, and I'll do this quicker than I have in previous videos, but going into YouTube analytics, I thought it would be fun to compare this month last year to this month this year. That's kind of what I was excited for. Oh, except I didn't mark down how many subscribers I had at this time last year, so that part I don't remember. But this month, at least October 1st to 29th, so there's still 2 more days. These numbers will go up just a little bit, but my videos got 24,356 views. Crazy, wild. Love that you guys are hanging out with me 24,000 times in a month. And this time last year, that number was 12,000. So it has doubled in the year. Wild, and I'm so grateful. Watch hours is pretty much the same. Watch hours from this month were 2,400. From this time last year was 1,200, so the same where it doubled. The channel has grown 370 subscribers so far in October. We are definitely getting to the point where I can't comprehend the numbers. Like the fact that 370 people, like that's a graduating class. That's a large graduating class of people have joined this little community on YouTube. It's wild to me. Last year, that number was 220. And then remember whenever we were talking about revenue, so from October 1st to 29th with AdSense, so far I've made $208, and this time last year that number was 128, so you can see where that's gone up as well. My most viewed videos this month were I ran my first half marathon video, social work careers, ecological systems theory. Y'all cannot let the ecological systems theory video go. It is always up there, and it was like the second video I ever made, and it's just really not good. It has good content, but the production value of it is very poor, but it continues to be one of the highest viewed. Number 4 was the new What I Wish I Knew Before Becoming a Social Worker, the one that released October 4th, so this month. And then the 5th most viewed was the in-depth days working at a children's hospital, which I thought was fun. I gotta be so honest, I do not have any monthly goal for this month, so I figured what we would do is just kind of go through the 2023 goals that I set for myself back in January whenever I had literally zero idea where my gear would go. That's why it's kind of funny looking at these, because I had no idea. I have this little journal that I've done in these monthly reset videos before, where I like made a little bingo board of my goals, and I've like been highlighting them them as I get them. I don't know where that journal is. I'm sure it has to be around here somewhere, but I don't know where it landed after we moved. So instead, I'm gonna be putting them up on the screen and we'll do bingo at the end of the year. Quit job before June, done. 52 booktube videos. I have not made another booktube video since like February because life blew up, so not done. Pay off laptop, finished. 5K followers on TikTok, no, and I also have not been putting in the effort that would be required to reach that goal. So 10K in savings, that was my goal for my emergency fund. I have done that. Literally, thank you to you. So thanks for giving me an emergency fund. Go to the dentist, I've done that. Max out 2022 Roth IRA, did that. Finish laser hair treatment, no, and it's not gonna get done this year and it's not really my fault. There was this little saga between like April and August where all of my laser hair treatment kept getting canceled day of or day before. Come to find out it was because their full-time person had quit and they hadn't gotten another full-time person yet. So it's just like people that were working at other locations that were traveling to my location to do appointments. And so sometimes I just wouldn't have someone and they would cancel on me. So I did get like quote unquote behind schedule from that. So they're definitely not gonna, I'm not gonna be done by the end of this year, but like, okay, that's fine. Get a massage, I've not done that. 5,000 subscribers on the main channel. I have done that. I've gotten more than that now. It's gonna bring a tear to my eye. Moved to a new apartment, did that. Welcome to my new apartment. Get school social work certification, I did that. It's irrelevant to me now, but I did that back in January whenever I was applying to jobs so that I could apply to some school social work jobs. Did not hear back from any of them, but I did get that certification and obviously am not working at a school now. Max out 2023 Roth IRA, I did that. Make $5,000 from social media, I've done that. Get 3 paid brand deals, I've done that. Buy a new sofa, I've done that. I had the goal to go on like 2 vacations and they didn't even have to be big. It was just like get away somewhere, and I've definitely done more than that. My first one this year was to Tybee Island in March, and then I went to Colombia in March. So really both of those were done in March, but then like I've also gone to Costa Rica since then. We just went to the mountains, so there's been several fun getaways. Buy a new vacuum, I've done that, and actually, I hope not to like, it's actually sitting right there. I know it's kind of funny to have as a goal, but it was just like our old vacuum just didn't work all that well, so I was like, well, gonna have to buy a new one. 52 main channel videos, I've done that. I have 59 now. That's because there's been times when I've been posting 2 times a week, times when I've been posting 1 time a week. Sunday is a given, you'll be getting a video every Sunday. Wednesday is a surprise, maybe you'll get a video on Wednesday, but I have passed 52 videos now. Read 100 books, I have met that goal now too. I think I'm at like 110 now. And then get a different social work job than I started the year with, which I've done. I've been at now for 5.5 months. So all of that to say, I'm kind of like in a chill era because I've done too much this year. No, I joke about it, but like genuinely this year, we still have 2 months to go, but it will be ending in such a different place than it started at. Like it is mind-boggling how much change has happened this year. Absolutely mind-boggling. And with my goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year, I wanted to have some of them be just like things that were going to happen so that I could feel accomplished once they did happen. Like we were going to be moving to a new apartment, but I think it's fun to view that as a goal and like I did that. I accomplished that. Whew, I've been talking for a long time. It's a good thing I have my water here. If there's anything that you would like in these videos that this video did not include, let me know. The sections are so fluid. I would love new ideas. This one really was just based off the structure of how I did them last year. But I mean, last year was last year. We've grown, we're new people. So if there's anything you want added or any section that you're like, I don't really care that much about, that's okay. Like you can let me know politely, obviously. But since these were a requested video to come back, I want to make them be the most beneficial viewers that they can as well as to me. So would love feedback. But overall, thanks for spending some moments out of your day with me today. I appreciate you. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time.